So HACCP, first of all, most of us know the full form of HACCP, but and which is it stands for hazard, H for hazard, A for analysis, C for critical, C for control, and P for points. So this is the full form of HACCP. But talking about HACCP, it is one of the risk management tool. It is it helps us, or it is used to manage the risk, to counter the risk, and to avoid the risk related to anything. But here we will be focusing on food safety risk. So this is one of the system, or this is one of the process which also helps us first to identify the hazard, like what can be the hazards for this particular food product, what can be the hazards for the particular equipment, and how we can control, how we can counter it. So this is all about HACCP, no layman's language. So let us start focusing upon other factors, or let us understand this HACCP in more detail. So HACCP, as I earlier told you, if we talk about food technology or food production related issues, so it has got a set of principles, 7 set of principles, which help us to control, counter, and avoid the risk or any of the hazards. And HACCP is not enforced or regulated by any single organization or anything else. It is widely practiced nowadays, and it is one of the best certifications you need for your food processing business or food processing industry, so that you can say it to, or you can come out with good and safety hygienic products. So this is all about some brief information about HACCP, and these HACCP principles they are codified, or we can say that they are referred, or they are taken from some of the more basic principles, or in a set of documents called Codex Elementaris, and that is the book of food. And this is done with the help of this is done by Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Okay, so next, moving to the next slide, hazard. So what are hazard, so hazards mainly they are classified into three parts or three types, that is biological, chemical, and physical. So biological hazard are those uh, which are which come from, or which are caused due to microorganisms, or anything related to microorganisms, or any other organism. Chemical are those which are mainly related to toxin formation in the food by the chemical compounds which are added intentionally or unintentionally into it, like we have also additives and all. So this comes under chemical. And physical is glass, stones, any the hairs of the food handler, the assessor, or the control, the one who is seeing all these things. So this comes under the physical hazards. And critical control point is that it is the particular point in the entire production chain where uh, there is a likely occurrence of hazard, and then action is taken to prevent that hazard, and anything can be done. So that is about CCP. So here you can see there are 7 principles. I have mentioned about 7 principles of HACCP. The first is to conduct a hazard analysis, and then this hazard analysis is done with the help of various. It is firstly the hazards are identified. That, like I earlier told you, there are various examples of physical, biological, chemical hazards. I have told you in short, so you can read more about that you can read more about that. So first these hazards are identified, and then they are identified, and then its analysis is done, and then we can say, and then the flow diagram is, or the process chart is done with the help of the analysis, and then the hazards are identified. And then comes the second point, is critical control point. Then it is critical limits. Fourth is to establish a system to monitor and control the CCPs. Next is corrective actions. See, here are you need to uh, you need to you need to think about, or you can say that one of these all 7 principles are gonna in the entire sentence. So but the crux of each principle is between 2 to 3 words. Like uh, if we say here, yeah, if we say the first is the conduct of hazard analysis. So here you can say, barring this for both PRPs and food stages in flow diagram of the selected product or processes, you can mainly focus on this point, that is hazard analysis. Okay, so this is what you should know about the first principle. Here it is a very short thing, determine critical control points. So this is also, you can know about this. You can remember it very easily. Here it is critical limits. See, these are the critical limits. Next, you can see you have already identified, you have determined the CCPs. So the fourth principle, you can see that system to monitor the control and control the CCP. This is one of the main things. Here it is corrective action. You just need to, for knowing basics of HACCP, here you need to know about the main sentences, so main words, crux. So here in the fifth principle, the crux is corrective actions, and here other things are, you can know this, but the main crux is corrective action. Next, here you can say is for verification, whether to confirm this is done, this is the HACCP system is working properly or not. So here you have this verification. And next, for the seventh principle, you can say this documentation. So documentation is one of the main crux for the seventh principle. And I will explain about all these things in the coming slides. But I want to tell you that these are the words, or which you should know related to each principle. So the first principle, that is conduct of hazard analysis, and hazard analysis is done with the help of a risk assessment. So friends, let me tell you about what is risk assessment. Risk assessment is thing that risk or hazard. Let us know about that. The risk is that there might be chances, like anything might happen, and anything which has happened might lead to any injury with respect to human health. This is, it might happen or it might not happen, but here we are focusing about what can be the risk about that. And hazard is, it is confirmed that the risk, that there is a risk to, or there is a harm to, there is confirmed harm to the human health. So here it is hazard is, it is confirmed, like things are very dangerous for this. And risk is like, we are countering, we are knowing that whether if this thing happens, whether it is risky for the human health or not. So this is done. So firstly, risk assessment is done based on the biological, chemical and physical types, and then it is considered, yes, this risk is harmful, and then it is said that this is hazard. So risk value is so there is a, during the risk assessment, there are value for everything, for every assessment. So here risk value is based on the scale of 1 to 3, where it is obvious that 1 is lowest and 3 is the highest. Again, this, in case of severity also, it is 1 and 3, and the risk assessment is done, then it is multiplied. So see here, suppose the risk value here is, if we take any of the example, risk value here is 2 is a risk value, and the severity is 1. Severity and risk value, risk severity is that how much severe the effects will be of that risk. So that is assessed on the base, that is known as severity, and severity is again assessed or given value on the scale of 1 to 3. So this is this, and the risk assessment is the product of risk and severity. So if we say the risk value is 2 and the product is 1, so it will be like 2 into 1, which gives you 2. So this is the total risk assessment value. The 2 is total risk assessment value. But in case we here we can say that the maximum risk value can be 3. 3 into 3 is 9. So 9 can be the maximum risk assessment value. In case if the risk value is 3 and the severity is also 3, here you see the severity is also 3. So this is the risk, this we can say that this can be the risk assessment value, that is 9. 9 will be the risk assessment value for the any of the product. So here I have given you examples about this, that these are the cases where you can know about the risk assessment and what is actually going on there. So this was all about risk assessment, and then the final assessment is also done. So and first of all, yeah, I forgot to tell you this, like the likely, if the value goes about, like we say, it is the maximum value is 9, so above 4, if the value goes for the risk assessment, then we should say that this value is greater. So here we can say that RS if is greater than 4, here you can say that the risk assessment or the risk is very at the huge stage, and it might hamper, it might attack the it might hamper the human health. And also then final assessment is done, and the final assessment many things are considered, but some of the lead questions are like uh, so what we have to do for to eliminate this hazard, and what are the acceptable levels of contamination. Suppose there is any contamination, if we say, let's take any of the example. See, if we take grains, so grains are contaminated or adulterated with stones. So what will be the acceptable levels before that? See, if it's I'm giving just an example, it's not in real. If we take 10 grains, and if we take 10 grains and the number of stones present are 3, so it is 30%. 30%. So there are 30% stones present in this wheat, in the grains. So here you should know that if the critical if the contamination accepted contamination level is 20, then 20%. But here we are getting 30% of the stones present here. So this is unacceptable. In case if we have got if we get 5% only, so this cannot be considered as contamination, or this is like it is accepted, it can be done. So these are the acceptable, so you can know about the acceptable and unacceptable levels or limit. And what are the measures, do control measures exist for the identified, and what are the hazards, and how we can identify those and how we can counter those, and what are the measures what are the measures taken for this. So this was all about the hazards and hazard analysis, the first principle. So I hope you have understood. Next is next is this is a step at which next is to determine the critical control points. Determine critical control points, that is CCPs. So here in this step it is necessary, or this step involves like what can be done, what controls can be used in order to avoid the food safety hazards. The food safety hazards which have been already we have discussed about this food safety hazards in the previous slide, in the previous principle, at an acceptable level. So this is the thing about critical control points. So here the complete identification is done for the critical control point, and it is one of the these are the fundamentals. So what are the hazards can take place? It can take place during thermal process, retention of holding time, environmental conditions, chilling, testing ingredients, and product formulation. This can, like thermal process, it can lead to physical hazard. And here chilling also physical hazard. But the testing of ingredients, like ingredients are used. These additives contain some chemicals or the toxins or chemicals which are toxic in nature. So this can come in chemical hazards. So these are the examples of that. And then which thermal process should be given to that particular product, or above what by which we can avoid the burn to the product. So that is critical control point, that if this value goes, if they suppose for this let us take an example, there is value of 7, like 4. So 4 is the critical control for critical control, like above 40 degrees Celsius. Above 40 degrees Celsius, let's take example of 40 degrees Celsius. Above 40 degrees Celsius, here if the product is exposed above 40 degrees Celsius, So there is a harm to the texture, there is a harm to physical attributes of that product. So here the critical control point is 40 degrees Celsius. Above that you can't go. So this is all about critical control point. So moving to the next slide, here it is all I have told you about the critical control point. Now let's move to the other side. There is the third established, like it is all related to the critical control point, the critical limit up to which it can be we can control this. Or decision tree, like critical limit is an observation like what is the temperature, time, humidity, moisture content, concentration level. So above that it is not able to. These are the limit sets, and these are uh, go hand in hand. They go hand in hand with what is called as CCP. So the limits go hand in hand and with the critical limits. And, so critical limit is that this is the maximum or minimum value of any of the hazard must be controlled at a CCP. This is all about critical limit. You can read it afterwards. Fourth principle is like to establish a monitoring procedure. There is the everything is set now. Hazard are analyzed, then the CCPs are identified, then limit is set, everything is done. But now turn comes for to monitor it whether these all things are going on as per the mentioned standards or not. So this is done in the fourth principle. Here there are various sequences and observational measurements where you can see whether the CCP is under control or not. Here you can monitor it, and it also tells about the and based on this, then here comes the fifth, corrective actions. If anything goes wrong, if anything is taken, like suppose 50 degrees Celsius, the temperature CCP is for 40 and temperature goes for 60. So 60, the temperature goes for 60. So what are the corrective actions? So what should be done to bring back the temperature to 40 or to that CCP so that the product is not harmed? So these are done with the help of we have to establish corrective actions before the product is before the all the processing actually goes on, and then by trial methods, and then the corrective actions are taken and they are established. So in case during the actual processing, if these things happen, which I have told you, so these things happen, then if they happen, then what can it will be easy for the food business operator or the any technician there to control to come back to the normal stage. So these are the corrective action questions. You can go through this. Next is verification procedure, and here it is like in after monitoring, here we have to check whether all things are going on properly. Then there are types of verification and validation. These are based on scientific related things, technical things. And ongoing is like what is the activity, and the assessment is that procedures record. So what is done, what is actually the things, what actually is what are the basic things or the basic principles, what actually is going on, and based on that the assessment is done, and then the verification is done whether it is going according to standards, and then if not, then there is some advice given to go according to the standards. And there the record keeping is done, that what are the CCPs, what are the CCPs we have monitored, what are the critical limits, and what needs to be done to keep the product processing go in a safe way, and how to pack the things, and when is the equipment the maintenance of equipment is done, and this all which is related to CCP, its documents are taken, and the everything is mentioned in those documents. So why is HACCP important for food industry? So HACCP is important for why HACCP is important, like it is one of the basic things. Like why HACCP is important, because food is that commodity which is consumed by everyone, every human. And if any up and down goes there, if anything goes up and down, and which is directly related to the health of the human, and it may also lead to adverse effect, it may also lead to death if the toxins or anything which has been consumed by consuming the food, then it may lead to any of the adverse effect. So in order to avoid that, HACCP is necessary in order to make the food safe please pardon me for my handwriting. I'm doing this for the first time. So to check whether the food is safe or not, and also HACCP can is also important to make the product of desired level, so that it can desired level I can say, so that it can attract the customers. It can attract the customer, and ultimately there is a the company or the organization gets profit. So this can be the another factor for what we say is why HACCP. These are the main. There are various things, but to cut short some of the important, I have mentioned this. And HACCP plan is required when these are some standards like IFS, International Food Feature Standards, safe quality food, and we have food safety system certification and brand reputation compliance, and these are the certifications. So if we have to take this type of certifications, here I have told you, if you have to take this type of certification, then HACCP is necessary, and then HACCP is carried out. Here is the how the HACCP plan is developed. The process chart. The HACCP team. We have to assemble the HACCP team, and the HACCP team is it may comprise of technicians. It may comprise of researchers. It may comprise of auditors, and then we have to tell about the food and distribution, which class of food, which class of consumers, like whether it is children, whether it is adults, whether they are youngsters, old age people. So this is told to the what we call to the told to the HACCP team, and then also the intended use, for what thing it is it is done, for what things. The like suppose if we take toffee, when toffee is used to take for what we can say, for mm, for eating purpose, for enjoying, for like children love to eat toffee, then yeah, that is intended. What is the intended use of the toffee? To eat, to especially the children, as I told you. So here the intended use is told about that. Then there is a flow diagram is done, including all the process which are related to manufacturing of the toffee, and then the flow diagram is verified. Here it is. I have told this is about implementation, how the HACCP team is done. This it consists of food safety experts, assistants, and all. And the HACCP team should also be decided during the preliminary stage. And then after the HACCP team is done, then the details should be given, and also the how the labeling, packaging is done, shelf life of the product is, temperature consideration, this is also considered. Then the list of ingredients, which raw materials will be required, should be told, and what are the risks by that raw material, whether if any, and if what are the additives, that also should be considered. And then the flow diagram is made, flow sheet based on the entire process. Then the sanitation principle is one of the major things of the HACCP, like what are the sanitation requirements for the particular product, and these are mentioned in the HACCP plan. This should be mentioned in the HACCP plan, one of the important things. So these are the benefits of HACCP system. It helps to correctly, to avoid hazards and give safe food, then avoid foodborne illnesses. Also, we can also reduce the loss of product, which ultimately gives you profit. It also gives you best product, and it also helps to go hand in hand with the legal requirements which are set up by the government or the governing body, like FSSAI. So these are some of the benefits of HACCP system. You can go through this, and yes, there is no such thing called zero risk. Risk is always there. Just risk analysis is to be done in a best way, so that what are the hazards? First we should identify them, and then we should take precautions, or we should take measures. We should take measures so that these hazards are done zero. Their effect is done zero. Their defect is done null. and it does not affect the human health. The main aim is this. So there is no to conclude that there is no zero risk, but you can control the hazards and avoid the hazards. So that was all about the HACCP. If you have so friends, if you have understood this, if you like the session, please do like, subscribe, and share to maximum people, so that we can come up with more and more such good videos. Also, all the best for your upcoming exams. Thank you, and have a nice day.